Recently on the channel, I've completed two builds that are around the same money. One features used price performance parts like the X3470, which is a 4-core 8-threaded Xeon and is overclockable, and on the other end we've got the brand new G4560, which is the latest budget killer from Intel. So let's compare these builds head to head with the exact same graphics card to see who comes out on top. Welcome back to Tech City. This is Brian coming to you guys today with that video comparing these two builds. Even though the used PC parts in this build are not anywhere near the best value for money I can get, they are still readily available. So it will give you a good idea on how used price performance can be. But anyway, with that said, let's compare these two rigs head to head with each other, and I'll throw down the specs of them first. Then we'll talk about both PCs more in depth, and I'll go through some problems that I had, especially with the used PC. So now that the benchmarks are done and dusted, it's time to talk about the new rig, which is kind of straightforward. You go out, buy the parts, you've got warranty, very easy to put together, you're going to have no problems at all. And the RX-470 as well, coupled on both these builds, is a really awesome graphics card, by the way. I managed to get both these cards, ironically, up to around about the same speed of 1330 MHz on the core. The memory on one of them did go a little bit higher than the other, but overall, they are really decent cards for the money. So now it's time to talk about the used PC, which honestly gave me quite a few headaches, especially when it came to overclocking. There were a few people in the comment section of the last video I did that said that other people were getting these up to around about 4 GHz and 3.8. And indeed, I did go around and I did check, and there were people getting those overclocks. And after seeing that, it just comes down to the silicon lottery, guys. I unfortunately lost on two fronts here. One in that the overclocking is severely limited on this motherboard. You don't have things like QPI adjustments or voltages to change, or you don't have things like the on-core ratio, and you can't change the voltages for that either. So you are extremely limited in overclocking in that you can't take the CPU any higher if those other variables can't go higher as well, or you can't adjust them or slow them down to get a higher clock speed. And another big factor on this motherboard, which I usually take into account with a H55, is that I get that Xeon X3470 with the higher multiplier, and that allows me to overclock the CPU higher so that I don't have to rely on the motherboard as much. However, unfortunately on this motherboard, it could not take the X3470 to the 24 times multiplier. It could only go up to 22 times on all cores. And now in the past I have tested an MSI H55 motherboard, and that did get it on the 24 times multiplier, which enabled me to go over 4 GHz. So unfortunately this motherboard did have limited options, also had a typo in there which was pretty funny. But besides that, I did try and tweak it as best as I could, and I could get it up to around 3.72 GHz stable. That was the max I got. And also on that note, the 24 speed multiplier with a certain heap of different settings did manage to go up to 24 times, but it was like the weirdest thing I've ever seen. During the stability test, it was dropping down to 23 times, 22 times, and then going back up and down. I've never seen anything like it before. So with all that talking aside, I'll try and put this into context for you guys. And basically with the G4560, it's the latest IPC, but it's only 2 cores and 4 threads. And even coupled with 2400 MHz DDR4 memory, it's still lost in the majority of titles to the X3470. However, it does have things like USB 3 and SATA 3 on board as well, so it is newer in that aspect. Though now the X3470, which I would prefer since it has more potential, and especially in my case, I got really unlucky, both in the overclocking department and that BIOS department where I couldn't unlock that extra multiplier. So on that note, I would probably recommend going with a different motherboard. I know on AliExpress they've got the Asus up there for an extra $5, and if that enables you to unlock that turbo multiplier, then you're going to be home and hosed, and you'll probably get around an extra 10% overclock guaranteed. And that's even with the worst case scenario like I was put in this situation. But even at 3.72 gigahertz, it was kicking a lot of ass. And that memory as well from AliExpress was pretty good, and the motherboard temperatures and all the temperatures here were very controlled. I did have a lot of extra headroom on both the voltages and the temperatures too. And this is also tested in pretty hot ambience too. And also on that note, if you are getting into used price performance, then I do strongly recommend looking for those local deals where you can pick up some really good bargains, as this is kind of like the fast food of used price performance. It's decent, but it's nowhere near the best you can get. Anyway guys, if you enjoyed this video, then be sure to hit that like button and let me know in the comment section below what you think of both these rigs. Which one's your favorite and why? Would love to hear your thoughts and opinions as always, and I'll catch you guys in another tech vlog soon. I've got one coming in the works and also another build coming for March, so stay tuned for that, and I'll peace out for now. Bye.